Sri Gurubhyo Namaha children. Welcome to online class. In social science, we are going to have a lesson of history, when, where and how. Okay. See, what is history, children? You all like to read history, isn't it? History is nothing but it is the study of our past. It is about what people did and how they lived in the past. Generally, we used to say, no, why we need to study history. It is only about remembering the dates, years. So I don't like to read history. Miss. Many of you would have told it, isn't it? But it is not actual fact. History is a very interesting subject. Okay. If you learn history only, you will come to know what happened in the past, how our ancestors led a life, what are the cultures followed, what is our tradition, everything you will come to know only if you learn history. So by learning history, you will come to know the economic conditions of the past, what were the eating habits, how about their tradition, culture, everything you will come to know if you study history. And you may ask, why should we learn history, ma'am? It is only about the kings, only about the battles. Then why should we learn about the dead kings and their battles? See, here are the answers for your questions. So we learn history for many reasons. History teaches us to carefully examine and question the facts before accepting them as the truth. And history educates us. How history educates us? See, if you read history now, you will come to know the various mistakes done in the past. So, what will you do? Once you know if it is a mistake, you will try to rectify that, isn't it? Will you follow the same mistake? No, you will correct yourself and you will move on in the correct path. So, history educates us. And history gives us a sense of identity. You will have an identity. So, by reading history, we come to know who we are and who are our ancestors. So, it gives us a identity. And we need to know our past to be able to understand our present. So, how will you understand your present? Why should you know the history of the past? For example, I can say this. See, we are living in an independent, isn't it? Before we got independence, we were under British. How did we get independence? After various struggles of the leaders, political leaders, and so many leaders went into prison. They were arrested, they were tortured by the British. After so many sacrifices of lives, we got this freedom. Yes or no? Now we are free to do anything. But before independence, we were suppressed by the British, isn't it? So you should know this. Then only you will value the independence and you will do justice to the independent country. Right? So we need to know our past to be able to understand our present. And a study of history is meant to make us more tolerant and open minded about other people and their culture. Now we are living in a society and we are surrounded by various communities, isn't it? So we move friendly with everyone. We are not dominating anyone and we are not dominated by any majority groups, isn't it? So we are moving very friendly with the society. For that, we need to study the history. And this history is divided into the following time periods, that is ancient period, medieval period, and modern period. See, before that, I want to just to tell you, already you know this, even then I just want to recollect it. What is BC? You would have seen in your history book, 700 BC, 600 BC. What does this BC means? The period before the birth of Christ is known as BC, and AD means the period after the birth of Christ is known as AD, that is Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord, is the meaning in Latin. And what is this ancient period? See, the ancient period is between 3500 BCE. Here it is mentioned BCE. Nowadays, historians, They use BCE means before common era and CE means common era. Okay. So ancient period is from 3500 BCE till 647 CE. Okay. So what is this ancient period? When it started? Which period we are calling as an ancient period? No? With the rise of Harappan civilization. It started with the rise of Harappan civilization and ancient period ended with the death of Harshavardhana. Okay, we will see this in detail later. Listen, what is this medieval period? This medieval period only we are going to learn throughout 7th standard. Okay, ancient period you learnt in 6th standard. This medieval period, what happened during the medieval period is going to be taught during the 7th standard history. Okay. So the medieval period started with the death of Harshavardhana and ended with the establishment of British rule in India. Then what is modern period? 1700 CE onwards, it is considered as the modern period. So modern period of Indian history is believed to have begun with the decline of Mughal Empire and the establishment of British rule in India. About this modern period, you will study in 8th standard. Now, just I want to have a recap about the ancient history. You know very well about the early human beings, isn't it? The early man lived in caves and they were hunters and gatherers. They gathered fruits, nuts, roots, and meat and ate it. And they lived very simple life, isn't it? After some time, they found fire. They discovered fire. They knew how to use fire and how to close the fire also. Then they slowly, after some time, they found weed and uses of weed. So the uses of fire with the uses of weed, they started to develop themselves to the next stage. Those people, in their period, they did not have any uh, metals. So they used their stones. They made the stones as a sharp weapons and used them to hunt the animals. Okay, to cut the forest, to hunt the animals, to cut the meat, everything. For all those things, they used the stones only. Slowly they developed and accidentally they found out how to grow crops. Okay. And then once they started to grow crops, they settled in one place. Actually, they were the nomads. They will not settle. They used to keep moving from one place to another. So once they started to do agriculture, they settled near the river valleys and they settled in groups. Slowly, two or more groups combined together and they become the villages. They became the villages. Then three or four villages combined and it became a Janapada. Janapada means a small kingdom like, okay. And they wanted to elect a leader to control them. Likewise, the kingship started to exist. So the king started to rule a Janapada. Many Janapadas were combined and ruled by a powerful king called, that is the powerful king who were able to combine the Janapadas and he made them into a Mahajanapada. Okay, like that, the kings started to pass their kingship to their sons. Okay, so their hereditary started to exist there. Likewise, the dynasties were entered. So we can say the example of Mauryan dynasty you have read in 6th standard, then the Gupta dynasty, and then comes Harshavardhana. So after the period of Harshavardhana only, the medieval period started. See, you can see in this picture so many Mughals, isn't it? The rulers of Mughal period you are able to see in this picture. Then what is the medieval period I told you? This is a period between the ancient period and the modern period. So what are all happened? What happened during the medieval period? We are going to see in the 7th standard. In this lesson, only the uh, significant events, what happened during the during the medieval India, we're going to see in this lesson, and also some sources which gave us information about the medieval India are also we are able to see in this lesson. Okay. So what is the significant event? See, the emergence of regional kingdoms after the death of Harshavardhana. What happened, after the death of Harshavardhana, his kingdom was divided into various small kingdoms, and each kingdom was ruled by a small king. But they were not united. There will be always rivalry between them because each king wanted to show his supremacy over the other, and each king wanted to capture the neighboring kingdoms. So there will be a rivalry between them every time. So this situation was used by the foreign invaders like Turks and Afghans and Mongolians. Okay, so the arrival of Turks from northwest and the establishment of Delhi Sultanate is an important event during the medieval period. And also the rise and spread of religious movements such as Bhakti movement and Sufi movement were also there in the medieval period. Then the important event which happened during the medieval period, that was the coming of Babur and establishment of Mughal rule in India. He only started the Mughal rule in India. So this also happened during the medieval period. So we are seeing now what all happened during the medieval India. And what happened? The Mughal Empire also came into end, and that is the decline of Mughal power and the rise of new regional powers like the Sikhs in North and Marathas in the Deccan also happened during the medieval India. Okay, now what we are going to see in 7th standard history, we have gone through now. Okay, now in this lesson, you are going to see many names of Indian subcontinent which were there during the medieval period. Okay, our India was called in various names like Bharatavarsha, Aryavarta, Hindustan, Indica, like that. Okay, we'll see one after the other. It was called as Bharatavarsha. It was referred in Puranas and in Mahabharata because why it is called Bharatavarsha means our India was ruled by a king called Bharata. So on his name, it was termed as Bharat or Bharata or Bharatavarsha. And then another name of India during the medieval India was Aryavarta, that is the land of Aryans. It was mentioned in the Sanskrit text called Manusmriti. It was referred in that. Next one, Hindustan. Hindustan, we get the reference from Arab chronicles. It is Arab chroniclers. What is a chronicle? It is a written document of past events written by Arab scholars. Okay, that is called chronicles. So the Arab chroniclers have mentioned India as Hindustan in their texts. It means, what they are mentioning. It is a land between the river Jhelum and the rivers Yamuna and Ganga. Okay, and Indica. Our India is mentioned as Indica by the Greek historians in their travelings. Okay, and then now we have seen how our India was called in the medieval period. In so many names, it was called, Hindustan, Aryavarta, Bharatavarsha, and one more thing is Indica, isn't it? And then we'll move on to the sources of medieval history. How we come to know about the medieval history. From where we get the information about the medieval history? From the sources. What is a source? It is nothing but a thing from which we get some information. We obtain some information that is called a source. For example, if you want to read history, what will you do? You will take a social science book and read history. So your book is a source to you, isn't it? To get some information about history, your textbook is your source. Like that, we have archaeological sources and literary sources to know about the medieval history. What is this archaeological source? What does archaeology mean here? Archaeology means studying about the remains of the past life. For example, this is done by the archaeologist. Archaeologists are persons who excavate, that is, they dig out the land and they take some other objects which were used by the past people in the ancient time. Okay, the objects left by the people who lived in the ancient period or excavated by the archaeologists. Okay, you can see this picture. See, the archaeologists are excavating a site. They are able to get some human bones from that, isn't it? And then these archaeologists can excavate not only human bones, animal bones, the pottery is used by those people, the weapons used by them, the jewels used by them, all those things can be excavated from the archaeological site. Then, what are those archaeological sizes? One by one, we will see. First, we will, when you take these coins, see, nowadays, if you want to buy something, we have coins as well as rupee notes, no? To pay to the shop owner and get the goods, what and all we are required, isn't it? Like that, kings also issued coins to enable the people to buy goods and services. Okay, they were made of gold, copper, or silver, etc. Then, what is the information we are able to get from the coins? It tells about the rulers who issued the coin as well as the period in which it was issued. Some other information like the wars won by the victory of the king or the images of the king and queen, all those, that is the scenes from the battle scenes also were engraved on the coin. So we can get the information about all these things from the coins which were excavated by the archaeologists. Then the study of coins is called numismatics. And then we move on to monuments. These monuments and buildings also provide various informations about the past history. See why what is this monuments? Monuments are built in memory of a person or an event. For example, you can take this Taj Mahal. It was built by Shah Jahan in memory of his wife Mumtaz Mahal. Same way, the kings, medieval kings, built so many forts, palaces, and tombs. Okay, like Jama Masjid, Qutub Minar were built during the medieval period. Why did they build forts? To safeguard their country, to safeguard their people. Forts were built, and palaces, that is to showcase their luxurious life. They built so many palaces also. And you move on to this picture, you can see a very good monument of fort. And here you are seeing the Qutub Minar, and it is built of red sandstone. Okay. And from the paintings and sculpture, what kind of information we are able to get to know? So, if you see this picture, you are able to find out the type of jewels the people uh, were wearing during the medieval period and the type of entertainment they are able to get and the type of jewels they are wearing. All those things we are able to get from this picture, isn't it? And then from the sculptures, what are all the informations we are able to get? See, these sculptures reveal the materials out of which they are made, isn't it? Some sculptures were made of stones, some sculptures were made of wood, some sculptures were made of bronze. So we come to know all these materials were used to make sculptures during the medieval period. So from the coins, we come to know about the period in which the kings were ruling and the type of material, the type of metal used to make the coins and they how to which countries they had a trade relationship also can be understood by the coins. Okay, and then we come to the end of this session, children. So we have read about the ancient history, the medieval history, and the periods of ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. And during the medieval period, what are all the significant events that had happened and the sources from which we are able to get some information, archaeological sources and literary sources. So, literary sources we will you will learn in the next class. Thank you, children.